introduced to a region a non-native species can eliminate native species, cause major economic damage, and transmit disease. In this video, we will specifically be studying this occurrence in the case of the island of Palmyra Atoll. Now, what happened is during World War II, the military introduced several non-native species, such as rats and certain species of mosquitoes. These rats would crack open the husk of coconuts and use them for food, and then the mosquitoes would lay their eggs in the coconuts and also use the rats to feed on. And what was found was the success of the mosquito species depended on their success of blood feed. Now we are specifically looking at two species of mosquitoes, the Culex and the Aedes. The Culex is a small, black, nighttime feeder who feeds primarily on birds and small mammals such as humans, and they can transmit West Nile fever, Japanese encephalitis, and lymphatic filariasis. The Aedes is a large, daytime biter which feeds primarily on small mammals such as rats and humans, and they transmit yellow fever, Rift Valley fever, Zika, and dengue fever. By June 2011, people on the island were starting to notice severe economic damages and the cutting out of native species that these rats were causing. So 40,000 rats living on the island were eliminated. What happened when these rats were eliminated was that people found that the large daytime biters, the Aedes mosquitoes, had mysteriously disappeared because they weren't getting bitten during the day anymore.
A balanced ecosystem is crucial for the survival of organisms that exist in a complex food web in which they rely on the other sources to obtain energy needed to survive and reproduce. In the scientific article, Local Extinctions of Asian Tiger Mosquito Following Rat Eradication on Palmyra Atoll, we researched the fact that eradication of rats on Palmyra Atoll Island positively correlates with the supposedly complete elimination of Aedes mosquitoes and no significant change in the population of Culex mosquitoes. Researchers and conductors of this experiment made these claims after utilizing black light and scent traps to ensnare the mosquitoes and then ran anactical biting reports on them. The extensive trappings of Culex mosquitoes and Aedes mosquitoes before and after rat eradication brilliantly showcase that the alternate hypothesis is most likely valid. Thus, this alludes to the broad scope of the fact that if the rat population of Palmyra Atoll decreases, the population of rats on the island would most likely decrease. We observed three trends in our article. The first is the effects of rats on humans. The expected curve was as such, that as rat population decreased, the number of mosquito bites on humans would also increase. However, this is what actually happened, because the mosquito egg laying requires a blood meal, and as the mosquito abundance increases, it would depend on blood feeding success. The next trend is the survival rate of Aedes mosquitoes. Dense rat population, the survival rate is high, and that is the same for humans populations. However, when there is no rats and few humans, the survival rate of Aedes mosquitoes is nearly zero. Lastly, the article observed population size variances. So before rat eradication, both the Aedes and the Culex have similar populations. Though after rat eradication, the Culex population maintained and the Aedes was eradicated.
To begin this experiment, two species of mosquitoes were analyzed using blacklight traps, Aedes and Culex mosquitoes. The results from the trapping showed that Aedes were present on the island, but at a low population. Culex mosquitoes were also present, but with a higher population than Aedes. Before rats were eradicated from the island, only 5.9% of the trapped mosquitoes were Aedes. This led researchers to the conclusion that Aedes mosquitoes need to live in an environment with a dense rat population or dense human population in order to survive. They are not able to survive when only surrounded by few humans and no rats, which are the conditions after rat eradication. Rats were then removed from the island. 35 times more mosquitoes were caught by the blacklight traps as a result. 0 Aedes mosquitoes were caught in the second trapping, which proved statistical significance. However, the average number of Culex mosquitoes per trap was close to the initial trapping value, which yielded no statistical significance. This confirms the researchers' original thoughts. The Culex mosquitoes were able to withstand rat eradication, whereas Aedes could not because they require a dense population of humans or rats, which was not possible during rat eradication.
Due to the fact that rat eradication had not been linked with mosquito eradication, a predicted issue of eradicating rats was that biting rates on humans increased as the mosquitoes would need more human hosts to feed on after. However, Aedes activity ceased. Over a period of 2 years, Aedes were aggressively sought after by researchers without the quest coming to fruition. Therefore, according to the World Health Organization standards, the conclusion was the mosquito species demonstrated secondary eradication, meaning the island of Palmyra Atoll are no longer suitable for Aedes. This research may be expounded by hypothesizing that that while this is certainly not the best method of controlling species, that an active disease vector is due to it affecting other species populations.